every second that passes is a second you will never get back. While you sit in hesitation, while you waste time on distractions, while you make excuses, someone else is out there grinding, improving, and becoming unstoppable. The only difference between you and the person you want to be is how you use your time. So ask yourself, are you building your future or are you letting it slip away? Every individual is born with a unique purpose, a mission they are meant to fulfill in this world. Yet many fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they ignore this purpose. They allow distractions, temporary pleasures, and societal pressures to dictate their lives instead of following the path they were created to walk. The failure to recognize and commit to this purpose is the root cause of a life filled with regret, mediocrity, and ultimately a deep sense of unfulfillment. From the moment a person begins to understand the world, they are bombarded with influences that push them away from their true calling. Family expectations, social norms, and the pursuit of comfort become dominant forces shaping decisions. Instead of seeking what truly aligns with their soul, people settle for what is easy or socially acceptable. They chase money without meaning, attention without substance, and pleasure without purpose. This path, while seemingly rewarding in the short term, leads to an internal void, one that no material success can ever fill. A life without purpose is a life spent wandering aimlessly. People wake up every day, go through repetitive routines, and convince themselves that this is what life is supposed to be. They work jobs they hate, engage in meaningless conversations, and consume entertainment that adds nothing to their growth. Instead of striving to create, to lead, and to contribute, they exist in a passive state, waiting for something external to give them fulfillment. But fulfillment does not come from external sources. It is the result of relentless pursuit of one's mission. Ignoring purpose is often a result of fear of failure, fear of judgment, and fear of hardship. Many know deep within them what they should be doing, but they hesitate. They hesitate because their purpose demands sacrifice, discipline, and struggle. It requires them to step out of their comfort zones, to face rejection, and to push through pain. But instead of embracing this struggle as a necessary part of growth, they retreat into comfort. They distract themselves with entertainment, waste time on meaningless pleasures, and convince themselves that they have time to figure it out later. The world does not reward those who ignore their calling. It does not elevate those who refuse to take responsibility for their mission. Those who fail to act on their purpose find themselves lost, envious of others who had the courage to follow their path. They look at successful people, those who have built great empires, inspired millions, and changed the world, and wonder why they themselves are stuck in mediocrity. The difference is not luck or privilege. The difference is action. Successful people refuse to ignore their calling. They recognize their purpose and dedicate their lives to fulfilling it, no matter the cost. There is a deep moral and spiritual consequence to ignoring one's purpose. A person who has been given gifts, intelligence, strength, ambition, but fails to use them is betraying the very force that created them. To ignore one's potential is to reject the responsibility that comes with existence. It is to waste the opportunities that others would give anything to have. Every wasted day, every ignored talent, and every moment spent in distraction is an insult to the greatness that one was meant to achieve. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they will start tomorrow. Tomorrow they will work harder. Tomorrow they will commit. Tomorrow they will finally take action. But tomorrow never comes. Procrastination is the tool of failure, and those who constantly delay their purpose find themselves trapped in a cycle of excuses. Years pass, and before they realize it, they have wasted their youth, their energy, and their potential. The regret of ignoring one's purpose is far heavier than any struggle faced in the pursuit of it. Breaking free from this cycle requires absolute commitment. It requires an individual to wake up with a clear understanding that they are not here to merely exist, but to accomplish something significant. This means cutting out distractions, eliminating excuses, and surrounding oneself with people who push them toward greatness. It means embracing discipline, sacrifice, and hardship as necessary parts of the journey. No great achievement has ever come from comfort. Every legend, every leader, and every powerful figure in history has suffered for their purpose, but they embraced that suffering because they knew it was worth it. Ultimately, the failure to fulfill one's purpose is the greatest failure of all. Money can be regained, opportunities can be rebuilt, and skills can be learned, but time lost can never be recovered. Every second spent ignoring one's purpose is a second wasted. Those who truly understand this do not allow themselves to fall into the trap of complacency. They wake up every day with fire in their hearts, determined to walk the path they were meant to walk. They refuse to fail the force that created them. They refuse to waste their existence. They refuse to be anything less than what they were destined to be. Discipline is the foundation of all success. Without it, no amount of talent, intelligence, or opportunity can lead to greatness. It is the ability to control impulses, remain consistent, and push forward despite difficulty. Discipline is what separates those who achieve from those who fail. It is the defining trait of champions, leaders, and those who leave a lasting impact on the world. Without it, life becomes a cycle of excuses, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled potential. People often wonder why they struggle to reach their goals despite having dreams and ambitions. The answer is simple: they lack discipline. They allow their emotions to dictate their actions instead of following a structured path. One day they are motivated, the next they are not. They set goals but do not commit to the daily effort required to achieve them. They start projects with enthusiasm but quit the moment they face difficulty. This inconsistency is the reason they remain stagnant while disciplined individuals continue to rise. The world does not reward those who lack discipline. It punishes them with mediocrity, regret, and failure. Every time a person chooses laziness over hard work, they fall further behind. Every time they delay action because they do not feel like it, they weaken their ability to succeed. Discipline is not about doing what is easy. It is about doing what is necessary. It is about showing up every single day, whether you feel like it or not. The greatest individuals in history did not reach their positions because they always felt motivated. They got there because they refused to give themselves an option to quit. Modern society promotes comfort and instant gratification, making discipline even more rare. People are addicted to distractions, whether it be social media, entertainment, or mindless indulgences. They waste hours on activities that add nothing to their growth, convincing themselves that they deserve rest without having worked. They avoid hardship, seeking pleasure instead of progress. The result is a generation that expects success without sacrifice, rewards without effort, and respect without having earned it. Discipline is what keeps a person moving forward when motivation fades. Motivation is temporary. It comes and goes based on emotions. Discipline, on the other hand, is permanent. It is built through consistent action, through training the mind to push forward regardless of external circumstances. A disciplined person does not rely on feelings. They rely on principles. They wake up early, train their body, strengthen their mind, attack their goals with relentless energy. They do this not because it is easy, but because they know the alternative is failure. Every great achievement requires sacrifice. Athletes who dominate their sport do not do so because of natural talent alone. They train when others sleep. They push their bodies beyond limits, and they master their craft through years of repetition. Entrepreneurs who build empires do not succeed because they were lucky. They work while others relax. They make strategic decisions with unwavering focus, and they discipline themselves to keep going even when things seem impossible. The same principle applies to every area of life, whether it is fitness, business, relationships, or personal growth. Without discipline, nothing of value is ever accomplished. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they will be disciplined tomorrow. Tomorrow they will wake up early. Tomorrow they will eat clean. Tomorrow they will start working harder. But tomorrow never comes. Procrastination is the enemy of discipline. Every time a person delays action, they strengthen the habit of avoidance. The disciplined person understands that the time to act is always now. They do not wait for the perfect moment because they know that waiting is just another form of weakness. True discipline also means being accountable. A person who lacks discipline often blames external factors for their failures. They blame their circumstances, their upbringing, or the people around them. A disciplined person, however, takes full responsibility. They do not make excuses, they find solutions. They recognize that every decision they make shapes their future, and they refuse to let weakness dictate their path. Building discipline is not easy, but it is possible for anyone who truly desires success. It begins with small, consistent actions, waking up at the same time every day, setting goals and sticking to them, eliminating distractions, and prioritizing what truly matters. Over time, these small actions compound into a powerful force, transforming an undisciplined person into someone who is unstoppable. There is no shortcut to success. There is no secret formula. The difference between those who win and those who lose is discipline. Those who embrace it will rise, while those who reject it will fall. The choice is simple: suffer the pain of discipline now, or suffer the pain of regret forever. Excuses are the enemy of progress. They are the invisible chains that keep people trapped in mediocrity, preventing them from reaching their full potential. People who constantly make excuses convince themselves that their failures are not their fault, that the obstacles in their lives are too great to overcome, and that they are victims of circumstance rather than masters of their own destiny. This mindset is dangerous because it allows a person to remain stagnant while believing that they are justified in doing so. Instead of looking for solutions, they look for reasons why they cannot succeed. The truth is, life is difficult for everyone. Every successful person has faced hardship, challenges, and setbacks. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not the absence of struggle, but the response to it. While some people push through difficulties with determination and perseverance, others allow their struggles to become an excuse for inaction. They say they are too tired, too unlucky, too inexperienced, or too disadvantaged to make progress. In reality, these are just lies they tell themselves to justify their lack of effort. One of the biggest excuses people use is blaming their circumstances. They convince themselves that if they were born into a wealthier family, had a better education, or had more connections, they would be successful. While it is true that some people start life with advantages, this does not determine success. There are countless examples of individuals who started with nothing and built incredible lives through sheer hard work and discipline. At the same time, there are many people who were given every advantage and still failed because they lacked the drive to take action. The real difference is mindset. Those who refuse to make excuses take control of their own lives, while those who blame their circumstances remain powerless. Another common excuse is blaming other people. Some will say that their boss does not support them, their family does not believe in them, or their friends do not help them. While external factors can sometimes make things more difficult, no one is responsible for your success except you. Waiting for others to make things easier is a waste of time. If someone refuses to support you, prove them wrong through your actions. If you do not have the right people around you, find new ones. If no one believes in you, then believe in yourself. Making excuses about other people only shifts responsibility away from where it truly belongs, on you. Time is another excuse that keeps people from taking action. Many claim they do not have enough time to work on their goals, to build a business, to get in shape, or to improve themselves. But in reality, everyone has the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is in how that time is used. Those who are disciplined prioritize what truly matters, while those who make excuses waste their time on distractions. They spend hours scrolling through social media, watching meaningless entertainment, or engaging in activities that do nothing to move them forward. Instead of saying, "I don't have time," they should be honest with themselves and admit, "I am not making it a priority." The moment a person stops making excuses about time, they start making progress. Excuses are also fueled by fear. Many people avoid taking action because they are afraid of failure, rejection, or hardship. They convince themselves that if they try and fail, it will be embarrassing or painful. But failure is a necessary part of growth. Every great success story is built on a foundation of failures. The only real failure is refusing to try. Those who make excuses to avoid challenges remain trapped in the same place, while those who embrace difficulty grow stronger with each struggle. The habit of making excuses does not just affect external success, it also destroys self-confidence. Every time a person avoids responsibility, they reinforce the idea that they are not capable of overcoming obstacles. Over time, they start to believe their own lies. They convince themselves that they are powerless, that life is unfair, and that they are destined to struggle. This mindset becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more excuses they make, the weaker they become. Breaking free from the cycle of excuses requires brutal honesty. It means looking in the mirror and admitting that the only thing standing in the way is yourself. It means recognizing that success is not about perfect circumstances, unlimited resources, or luck. It is about taking action despite difficulties. It means understanding that every excuse is a choice, and that choosing excuses over effort leads only to regret. The solution is simple: stop talking and start doing. Instead of saying, "Can't," say, "I will." Instead of saying it's too hard, say, "I will find a way." Instead of waiting for the perfect moment, take action now. The people who win in life are not the ones who never faced hardship. They are the ones who refuse to let hardship define them. Success is not given. It is earned through relentless action. The sooner a person eliminates excuses from their life, the sooner they will step into the greatness they were meant for. Temptation is one of the greatest obstacles standing between a person and their true potential. It comes in many forms: laziness, gluttony, addiction, dishonesty, lust, greed, and each one slowly erodes the strength of the soul. Giving in to vice may feel pleasurable in the moment, but it leads to long-term weakness, regret, and failure. The person who indulges in destructive habits cannot expect to achieve greatness because they are constantly being pulled downward by their own desires. Strength, success, and fulfillment require discipline. And vice is the enemy of discipline. People often underestimate the power that indulgence has over them. They tell themselves that small acts of weakness do not matter, that skipping one workout, eating one unhealthy meal, lying once, or wasting one day in laziness is insignificant. But these small choices add up, and before they know it, they are trapped in a cycle of self-destruction. Every time a person surrenders to temptation, they make it easier to do so again. Bad habits become chains, and the longer they are worn, the harder they are to break. One of the biggest lies people believe is that indulgence is freedom. Society tells them that doing whatever they want, whenever they want, is a sign of independence. But in reality, a person controlled by their desires is not free at all. They are a slave to their impulses. The man who cannot resist unhealthy food is a slave to his appetite. The person who cannot control their lust is a slave to their passions. The individual who cannot function without alcohol, drugs, or distractions is shackled by addiction. True freedom comes not from indulgence, but from self-mastery. The person who can say no to temptation is the one who has real power. Vice does not just weaken the body, it corrupts the mind and spirit. A person who constantly chases pleasure will struggle to focus, to think clearly, and to develop the mental strength needed to overcome life's challenges. Their mind becomes clouded by distractions, and they lose sight of their goals. They seek short-term gratification instead of long-term success, and as a result, they fail to build anything meaningful. The disciplined individual, on the other hand, understands that self-control is the path to true fulfillment. They reject the fleeting pleasure of indulgence in exchange for the lasting satisfaction of accomplishment. One of the most dangerous aspects of sin and vice is that it breeds more of itself. A person who allows one weakness to take hold will soon find themselves falling into others. Laziness leads to poor health. Poor health leads to low energy. Low energy leads to a lack of ambition. A lack of ambition leads to depression and regret. One bad habit can set off a chain reaction that drags a person down faster than they ever expected. This is why discipline must be absolute. There can be no compromise, no just this once, no I'll fix it later. The moment a person makes excuses for their vices, they allow them to take root, and those roots grow deep. Society today makes it even harder to resist temptation. Everywhere people look, they are encouraged to consume more, to seek pleasure, to avoid discomfort. Advertisements, social media, and entertainment constantly push them toward excess. Eat more, drink more, indulge more. The modern world rewards indulgence and mocks discipline. Those who try to live a life of self-control are often ridiculed as being too strict or too serious. But the reality is the ones who mock discipline are the ones who've already surrendered to their weaknesses. They do not want to see others rise because it reminds them of their own failures. Breaking free from sin and vice requires a person to make a firm decision. They must recognize that every moment of indulgence is a step away from their goals, a step away from strength, and a step away from the greatness they were meant for. This means removing temptations from their environment, surrounding themselves with disciplined individuals, and setting clear rules for themselves that they do not break under any circumstance. It means being honest about weaknesses and taking action to correct them. It is not easy to resist temptation, but nothing worthwhile is ever easy. Those who have achieved true success, whether in business, fitness, personal growth, or spiritual strength, have done so because they refuse to be controlled by their desires. They faced temptation just like everyone else, but they had the discipline to reject it. That is what separates the strong from the weak. In the end, the choice is simple. A person can either indulge in vice and accept the consequences, weakness, regret, failure, or they can master themselves, resist temptation, and build a life of strength and fulfillment. There is no middle ground. Every decision either strengthens or weakens the soul. Those who truly desire greatness must choose discipline over indulgence, purpose over pleasure, and long-term success over short-term gratification. Struggle is the price of success, yet many people run from it. They fear hardship, believing that pain and difficulty are signs that they are on the wrong path. In reality, struggle is not a punishment. It is a test, a refining fire that strengthens those who are willing to endure it. Every person who has ever achieved anything significant has faced challenges, obstacles, and failures. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is simple. Winners embrace struggle while losers avoid it. Hardship is unavoidable. No matter how much a person tries to create a comfortable life, struggle will find them. It may come in the form of financial problems, physical pain, emotional distress, failure in business, betrayal, or loss. Those who fear hardship spend their lives trying to escape it, seeking comfort, avoiding risks, and making choices based on what is easiest rather than what is right. They convince themselves that if something is too difficult, it is not meant for them. But the truth is, nothing worthwhile comes without struggle. The greater the goal, the greater the difficulty that must be overcome to achieve it. Many people believe that the successful were simply lucky or naturally talented. They see the victories but not the battles that came before them. They admire athletes, businessmen, and leaders without understanding the years of pain, discipline, and sacrifice that led to their success. They assume that these individuals had an easier path when, in reality, they simply had the courage to endure hardship instead of running from it. Every champion has been knocked down. Every great entrepreneur has faced failure. Every strong individual has felt pain. The difference is that they did not let it break them. They let it build them. Avoiding hardship only makes a person weaker. Every time someone chooses comfort over struggle, they train themselves to quit. They condition their mind to seek the easy way out, and over time, they become incapable of handling adversity. When difficulty arises, they panic. When they fail, they give up. When life gets tough, they crumble. They become fragile, unable to handle the inevitable challenges that come with being alive. Strength is not given, it is earned through battle. A person who avoids hardship will never know their true power because they have never tested their limits. Hardship is not an obstacle, it is an opportunity. It is a chance to grow, to become stronger, to build resilience. The person who embraces struggle transforms it into fuel. They understand that pain is temporary, but the strength gained from enduring it is permanent. They do not seek difficulty for the sake of suffering, but they accept that suffering is a necessary part of growth. Every great achievement requires sacrifice. To build muscle, one must endure physical pain. To build a business, one must endure financial stress and uncertainty. To build mental toughness, one must face failure, rejection, and adversity. There is no other way. Fear of hardship leads to mediocrity. It keeps people stuck in jobs they hate because they are afraid of the struggle that comes with chasing their dreams. It keeps them in weak, unhealthy bodies because they fear the pain of discipline. It keeps them trapped in toxic relationships because they are afraid of the loneliness that comes with walking away. Fear convinces people to settle for less than they deserve because it tells them that the struggle required to reach the next level is too much to bear. But those who refuse to let fear control them understand that nothing is worse than a life of regret. The solution is simple but not easy. One must train themselves to embrace struggle. This means developing the mindset that pain is not something to be feared but something to be used. It means rewiring the brain to associate difficulty with growth rather than failure. It requires a person to stop seeking comfort and start seeking challenges. When life gets hard, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" the strong ask, "How can I use this to become better?" The strongest individuals are not those who have avoided pain, but those who have endured it and come out stronger. They do not run from hardship, they run toward it. They understand that every struggle is preparing them for something greater. They are not afraid of falling because they know they will rise again. They do not see pain as suffering, but as transformation. And because of this, they succeed where others fail. In the end, hardship is a choice, not in whether it happens, because it will, but in how a person responds to it. Those who fear struggle will always be at the mercy of life, controlled by circumstances, never truly free. But those who embrace it will rise above the weak, the fearful, and the lazy. They will walk a path that few dare to take, but they will reach heights that few ever see. The choice is simple: face the struggle and grow, or run from it and remain the same. The people you surround yourself with shape who you become. Whether you realize it or not, their habits, attitudes, and mindset influence your own. If you constantly keep company with weak, lazy, and negative individuals, you will inevitably adopt their way of thinking. It is impossible to rise when you are constantly being dragged down by those who do not strive for greatness themselves. The environment you create for yourself determines your future, and if that environment is filled with weakness, failure is inevitable. Weak people do not push themselves, and they will not push you either. They prefer comfort over discipline, excuses over effort, and distractions over progress. They do not strive for excellence because they fear the hard work it requires. When you surround yourself with people like this, you absorb their energy, their mindset, and their excuses. Instead of being motivated to push forward, you will find yourself making the same justifications for inaction that they do. You will hear them complain about how life is unfair, how success is out of reach, how discipline is too difficult, and over time, their words become your own beliefs. Without even realizing it, you become one of them. Laziness is contagious. It spreads quickly when tolerated. If you are surrounded by individuals who waste time, you will start wasting time. If they have no ambition, you will start losing yours. If they spend their days indulging in meaningless distractions instead of working towards something greater, you will find yourself doing the same. A person's habits are a reflection of those around them. And if you allow yourself to stay in an environment of mediocrity, you will never escape it. Negative people are even worse. While laziness keeps you stagnant, negativity actively pulls you downward. Negative individuals will criticize your ambitions, mock your efforts, and try to convince you that success is impossible. They do this not because they genuinely believe it, but because they do not want to see you succeed. Your progress is a mirror that forces them to confront their own failures, and rather than improving themselves, they would rather keep you at their level. When you surround yourself with negativity, it drains your energy, poisons your mind, and makes it harder to believe in your own potential. The truth is that weak people do not want strong people around them. They feel threatened by discipline, success, and ambition. When you start pushing yourself to improve, they will mock you. When you say no to distractions and indulgences, they will call you too serious. When you refuse to waste time on meaningless activities, they will try to guilt you into joining them. They will do everything in their power to pull you back into the comfort of mediocrity because that is where they feel safe. It is crucial to recognize these people and cut them out of your life. This is not an act of cruelty, but an act of self-preservation. You cannot carry others when they refuse to walk themselves. You cannot waste your energy trying to change people who do not want to change. You cannot let your dreams die just because those around you have abandoned theirs. If the people in your life are not pushing you to be better, they are holding you back. Instead, surround yourself with individuals who challenge you. Find people who are disciplined, motivated, and relentless in their pursuit of success. Be around those who hold themselves to high standards because their mindset will push you to do the same. When you are surrounded by strong individuals, you will feel the pressure to elevate yourself. You will no longer tolerate laziness, excuses, or weakness. You will feel driven to work harder, to be better, to achieve more. Greatness is not achieved alone, but it also cannot be achieved in the wrong company. The strongest warriors, the most successful entrepreneurs, the most disciplined athletes, they all have one thing in common. They surround themselves with people who push them forward, not hold them back. They choose their circle wisely because they know that the wrong influences can destroy even the most determined individuals. If you look at your life and wonder why you are not progressing, take a look at the people around you. Are they lifting you up or dragging you down? Are they inspiring you or keeping you complacent? Are they helping you grow or making you weaker? The answer to these questions will tell you everything you need to know about your future. If you want to be strong, successful, and disciplined, you must surround yourself with others who embody those qualities. Weakness is a choice, and so is strength. The company you keep will determine which path you take. Truth is the foundation of strength, and failing to stand for it is one of the greatest forms of weakness. When a person remains silent in the face of lies, injustice, and corruption, they do not stay neutral, they actively contribute to the problem. Cowardice is not simply the act of running away, it is also the failure to take action when action is required. The world is filled with deception, manipulation, and moral decay, and it continues to worsen because too many people are afraid to speak up. They tell themselves that staying silent keeps them safe, but in reality, it only makes them complicit. Those who refuse to stand for truth are not just betraying the world, they are betraying themselves. Deep inside, they know what is right, but they suppress that knowledge out of fear. Fear of conflict, fear of being judged, fear of losing comfort, status, or approval. But the moment a person begins to compromise on truth, they begin to lose themselves. They become a shell of what they could have been, choosing comfort over conviction. And in doing so, they allow evil to thrive unchecked. The world has always been shaped by those with the courage to speak the truth. Every great movement, revolution, and transformation in history was driven by individuals who refused to remain silent. They understood that speaking out against injustice comes with consequences, ridicule, opposition, persecution. But they also understood that the price of silence is far greater. A person who refuses to stand for truth may avoid temporary discomfort, but they will suffer permanent regret. They will watch as corruption spreads, as lies become accepted as reality, and as morality is eroded, all while knowing that they had the power to resist but chose not to. One of the greatest lies society tells people is that truth is subjective, that morality is flexible, that right and wrong are just a matter of perspective. This is designed to keep people weak, passive, and obedient. If truth is what everyone wants it to be, then there is no reason to fight for it. This mentality allows corruption to grow because no one is willing to call it what it is. But deep down, every person knows the difference between right and wrong. The problem is that most people lack the courage to stand by that knowledge when it matters. Silence is surrender. The moment a person chooses to ignore a lie instead of exposing it, they have allowed it to take root. Lies do not disappear on their own. They grow in the darkness of cowardice. Corrupt individuals rely on silence to maintain control. They know that most people lack the courage to challenge them, so they push their agendas forward without resistance. They use fear to manipulate the weak, convincing them that standing for truth is dangerous, unnecessary, or futile. But the reality is, the only way to defeat deception is to confront it head on. Many people excuse their silence by convincing themselves that one voice does not matter. They think that speaking up will not change anything, so they remain quiet and hope that someone else will take responsibility. But this is exactly how evil wins. It does not need a majority to support it. It only needs a majority to do nothing. Throughout history, the greatest atrocities were not committed by the loudest voices, but enabled by the silent masses who refused to resist. One person standing for truth may seem insignificant, but when enough individuals make that choice, they become unstoppable. Speaking truth is not easy. It requires strength, resilience, and the willingness to face opposition. Those who stand for what is right will be attacked, criticized, and ridiculed. Weak people will try to silence them because the truth makes them uncomfortable. Corrupt individuals will attempt to destroy them because the truth exposes their deception. But none of this matters. The only thing that truly matters is whether a person can look at themselves in the mirror and know that they did not betray their own soul. The choice is simple: stand for truth and endure the struggle, or stay silent and become part of the problem. There is no middle ground. Indifference is complicity. The person who refuses to fight for truth cannot call themselves strong, disciplined, or righteous. They are simply afraid. And fear is the weapon of the weak. Those who desire strength, honor, and greatness must be willing to stand against deception no matter the cost. Truth is not just something to believe in, it is something to fight for. Living for the approval of others is one of the most destructive choices a person can make. It is a trap that keeps people weak, distracted, and unfulfilled. When someone prioritizes validation over purpose, they hand control of their life to the opinions of others. They become a slave to external approval, constantly adjusting their actions, words, and even beliefs to fit into what society, friends, or family expect. But no matter how much they conform, it is never enough. The hunger for validation is insatiable, and the more someone chases it, the more they lose themselves in the process. A person who seeks validation over purpose is like a ship without a compass. Instead of steering toward a meaningful destination, they are tossed around by the changing tides of public opinion. They do not stand firm on any values because they fear rejection. They do not pursue their real passions because they worry about what others will think. Instead of acting with conviction, they hesitate, constantly second-guessing themselves based on the reactions of those around them. And in doing so, they waste their potential, sacrificing their true calling for temporary approval. The need for validation is deeply rooted in fear, the fear of being disliked, judged, or rejected. People who live this way believe that if they can just win the approval of others, they will find happiness and security. But this is an illusion. No amount of external validation can ever replace the fulfillment that comes from living with purpose. Seeking approval is like drinking salt water. It may satisfy for a moment, but it only deepens the thirst. No matter how much a person is praised, liked, or admired, they will always feel empty if they are not living for something greater than themselves. One of the biggest dangers of living for validation is that it leads to compromise. A person who craves approval will do things they know are wrong just to fit in. They will abandon their values, betray their principles, and follow the crowd even when they know deep inside that it is not right. This is how people end up in toxic relationships, meaningless jobs, and destructive habits. They make choices based on what will earn them acceptance rather than what will bring them true fulfillment. And once they start compromising, it becomes a habit. Little by little, they lose their identity, and one day, they wake up realizing they no longer recognize themselves. Validation seekers are also easily controlled. They are manipulated by social media, influenced by trends, and swayed by opinions because they lack the inner strength to stand alone. They are terrified of being different, so they conform, even when conformity leads to mediocrity and unhappiness. Instead of setting their own path, they follow the script that others have written for them. And when they finally realize that approval does not bring lasting happiness, it is often too late. They have spent years chasing something that was never real to begin with. A person who lives with purpose, on the other hand, does not need validation. They are guided by a deeper mission, A higher calling, something bigger than public opinion. They do not fear rejection because they understand that greatness often requires standing alone. They do not waste energy trying to please everyone because they know that true success is not measured by applause but by impact. They wake up every day with clarity, knowing that their actions align with their values, and this gives them a sense of fulfillment that external approval could never provide. True strength comes from within. It comes from having a clear purpose and the discipline to pursue it, regardless of what others think. It comes from refusing to compromise on principles, even when it is difficult. It comes from understanding that not everyone will like or support you, and that is perfectly fine. The strongest individuals in history were often criticized, ridiculed, and misunderstood, but they did not let that stop them. They stayed focused on their mission, and in the end, they changed the world, not because they sought approval, but because they lived with conviction. The choice is simple: live for validation and remain weak, or live with purpose and become strong. Those who choose the first path will always be at the mercy of others, constantly chasing approval and never finding fulfillment. But those who choose the second path will experience something far greater: a life of meaning, achievement, and true inner peace. Seeking validation leads to emptiness, but living for purpose leads to greatness. True strength is not just physical, financial, or even mental. It is spiritual. It comes from a deep connection with something greater than oneself, a purpose beyond personal desires, and a foundation that cannot be shaken by hardship. Yet many people ignore this truth. They chase power, success, and material gain while neglecting the one thing that gives everything meaning: faith. Without faith, a person may achieve everything the world tells them they should want, yet still feel empty, lost, and unfulfilled. Faith is not just belief in a higher power. It is the force that gives direction, resilience, and the ability to withstand life's storms. Ignoring it is the greatest mistake a person can make because it leaves them vulnerable, weak, and disconnected from their true purpose. A person who lacks faith lacks true guidance. Without faith, life becomes a constant search for meaning in things that can never provide it: money, relationships, status, or pleasure. These things might offer temporary satisfaction, but they do not sustain the soul. The world is full of people who have everything they ever wanted yet feel miserable. They reach the top of their careers, gain wealth, and experience success, but deep inside, they still feel something is missing. That emptiness exists because they have built their lives on things that do not last. Faith, however, provides something unshakable. It offers purpose beyond personal gain, strength in times of suffering, and a moral compass that does not waver in the face of pressure. Without it, a person is easily led astray, controlled by their desires, and left without direction when difficulties arise. Ignoring faith also leads to weakness in the face of adversity. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how strong or successful a person becomes, they will face moments of hardship. When trials come, those without faith crumble because they have nothing greater to hold on to. They question their purpose, lose their will to fight, and become consumed by fear. They look for external solutions to internal struggles, distractions, temporary escapes, and shallow comforts. But none of these things provide real strength. A person with faith, on the other hand, does not break under pressure. They understand that struggles are part of a greater plan. That pain has meaning, and that perseverance is rewarded. They do not run from difficulty. They embrace it, knowing that faith gives them the strength to endure anything. Another danger of ignoring faith is that it leads to moral decay. Without faith, there is no higher standard to live by, only personal desires, societal trends, and the pursuit of pleasure. This is why so many people today feel lost. They chase whatever feels good in the moment, justifying their actions by saying that morality is subjective. But deep inside, they know the truth. They know when they are living without integrity, when they are betraying their values, and when they are choosing comfort over righteousness. Faith provides the discipline to live by principles rather than impulses. It holds a person accountable, ensuring that they do what is right, not just what is easy or convenient. Without faith, people fall in the trap of selfishness, deceit, and indulgence, thinking that freedom comes from doing whatever they want. But real freedom comes from living with purpose, and purpose can only be found through faith. A faithless life is also an anxious life. When a person believes in nothing greater than themselves, they carry the full burden of life's challenges alone. They are constantly worried about the future, stressed about things they cannot control, and overwhelmed by uncertainty. This is because, deep down, they know that everything they have built could collapse at any moment. They rely on their own strength, their own plans, and their own abilities, forgetting that human power is limited. But faith removes that anxiety. It brings peace even in the middle of chaos. A person with faith does not fear the unknown because they trust that they are guided. They do not obsess over things they cannot control because they believe that everything happens for a reason. This unshakable confidence is what separates the strong from the weak. Those who ignore faith will always be consumed by fear, but those who embrace it will walk through life with clarity and certainty. One of the greatest lies society tells people is that faith is unnecessary, that strength comes solely from the self. This is why so many people are lost, despite having more access to success, knowledge, and opportunity than ever before. They are told that they can do everything on their own, that faith is outdated, and that belief in a higher power is a weakness. But the truth is, faith is the ultimate source of strength. It is what allows people to rise above their circumstances, resist temptation, and find meaning in the struggles they face. It is what makes the difference between someone who gives up when things get hard and someone who keeps going, knowing that their battle is part of something bigger. Ignoring faith is not just an individual mistake. It is a mistake that affects entire societies. When faith is abandoned, values deteriorate, families fall apart, and people lose their sense of purpose. The absence of faith leads to the rise of selfishness, corruption, and confusion. It creates a world where people chase pleasure instead of purpose, where discipline is replaced with indulgence, and where truth is sacrificed for convenience. This is why faith has always been attacked by those who seek to control others. A faithless society is a weak society, easily manipulated and controlled. But a society built on faith produces strong individuals, people who cannot be broken by hardship, who do not compromise on their values, and who live with an unshakable sense of purpose. The solution is clear. A person must reconnect with faith if they want to become truly strong. They must recognize that true power does not come from wealth, status, or external success, but from within, the unwavering belief in something greater than themselves. Faith is not a sign of weakness. It is the foundation of real strength. It gives a person the clarity to know what is right, the courage to stand by their convictions, and the endurance to overcome any challenge. Without it, a person is lost, no matter how successful they may appear. But with it, they become unstoppable. Time is the most valuable resource a person has. Unlike money, which can be regained, or material possessions, which can be replaced, time, once spent, is gone forever. Yet many people treat it as if it is limitless, wasting hours, days, even years on pursuits that bring no real value to their lives. They indulge in distractions, chase temporary pleasures, and fill their days with meaningless activities, all while ignoring the bigger picture. Every wasted second is a lost opportunity, an opportunity to grow, to serve, to fulfill a mission that is greater than oneself. Those who fail to respect time fail to respect their own potential. Many people do not realize how much time they truly waste. They scroll endlessly on their phones, consume mindless entertainment, and engage in conversations that serve no purpose. They seek constant stimulation, thinking that they are relaxing or killing time, but what they are really doing is avoiding responsibility. They postpone their goals, telling themselves that they will start tomorrow or next week, but tomorrow turns into next year, and next year turns into a lifetime of regret. It is not the big decisions that determine success or failure. It is the small, everyday choices about how time is used. The problem is that meaningless pursuits offer comfort. They require no effort, no discipline, no struggle. They provide instant gratification without demanding real work. But comfort is the enemy of growth. A person who spends their days chasing pleasure and distraction may feel good in the moment, but over time they become weak. They lose their ambition, their drive, and their sense of purpose. They become accustomed to ease, avoiding anything that requires patience, persistence, or sacrifice. And when challenges arise, as they always do, they lack the strength to overcome them. One of the most common ways people waste time is by seeking validation from others. They become obsessed with social media, constantly checking likes, comments, and shares, as if the approval of strangers will somehow make their lives meaningful. They compare themselves to others, feeling envious of people who appear to be more successful, more attractive, or more popular. But all of this is an illusion. Social media is a highlight reel carefully curated to show only the best moments. Chasing validation online does nothing to build real strength, real discipline, or real success. It is a meaningless pursuit that drains energy and steals time that could be used to improve oneself. Entertainment is another trap. While there is nothing wrong with enjoying a movie, a game, or a book, the problem arises when these activities become an escape from reality. Many people spend hours watching television, playing video games, or scrolling through content that adds no value to their lives. They become passive consumers rather than active creators. Instead of working on their goals, they watch others achieve theirs. Instead of building something meaningful, they waste time being entertained. And in the end, they have nothing to show for it, just hours of wasted potential. Excuses are another way people lose time. They convince themselves that they are too tired, too busy, or too unprepared to start working toward their goals. They wait for the perfect moment, but that moment never comes. There will always be challenges, distractions, and reasons to delay. Those who succeed are not the ones who wait for the right time, but the ones who take action despite the obstacles. Every moment spent making excuses is a moment that could have been used to grow, to learn, or to make progress. Time is also wasted in meaningless relationships. Many people spend years with friends or partners who do not support their growth, who discourage them from pursuing their goals, and who drag them into pointless drama. They stay in toxic environments because they fear change, not realizing that every day spent with the wrong people is a day stolen from their potential. A person who surrounds themselves with negativity, laziness, or mediocrity will eventually adopt those same qualities. Choosing the right relationships is not just about happiness. It is about success, discipline, and purpose. Every wasted second is a missed opportunity to improve. Instead of spending hours consuming entertainment, one could be reading, learning, or developing a skill. Instead of seeking validation from others, one could be building real confidence through achievement. Instead of making excuses, one could be taking action. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not intelligence, luck, or talent. It is discipline in how time is used. Those who respect time understand that every moment counts. They do not waste hours on distractions. They do not engage in meaningless activities. They do not let days pass without progress. They are intentional with how they spend their time, always asking themselves whether their actions are bringing them closer to their goals. They know that time is their most precious resource, and they refuse to waste it. In the end, a person's life is nothing more than the sum of their days. How those days are spent determines whether they achieve greatness or fall into mediocrity. Wasting time is not just a minor mistake, it is the slow destruction of potential. Every moment matters, every choice matters. The question is whether one will use time wisely or let it slip away, never to be recovered.